Hello everyone and welcome back to my garden. I'm Marion and this video is going to be a bit more of a catch-up video because I've been away and I haven't actually done much actual gardening other than keeping harvesting things, but there's lots to tell you about, so I'm going to start right here in the front garden. I still haven't managed to get any of the fence painted other than what I had done before. But I did manage to pull the dead box out and replace it with this lovely little tree. So it's Picea glauca and should only get to be maybe another 12 inches taller than it is here. Beside it I've got a lovely Nymphothea and I really like the yellow colour. Wendy bought me that one for my birthday and so I've put it there. I know sparrows like to go up for the nectar, so that should be lovely. I thought it would be lovely alongside the path. I'm pleased to say the honeysuckle is putting on some good new growth since it got put back up on the arch. But the clematis on the other side is growing, but it's taking its time. Out here in the courtyard there's so much to do, but I just haven't had a minute to get on with it. So a lot of this is ready for cutting back. I did manage to plant up that new tub with mint, because the old baby bath, and I've had trouble growing mint in it, and that's because I didn't want to put holes in the bottom and so it gets flooded up over the winter. I think I'm going to be emptying that out. It's the bath I got bathed in when I was a baby. It's going to go somewhere else, maybe up on the wall instead of with plants in, and I'll move this tub into the space. The roses have continued to be lovely and there are plenty of buds waiting to come out, but they're still looking super. What's really bothering me in the backyard is the fact that I've still got the old blue fence in here waiting to be chopped up, because I can burn all that on the fire. It wasn't pressure treated wood, so it'll chop up for sticks. Goodness knows when that'll be though. I need to get back into a proper routine with it because there are so many jobs just waiting to be done. Just need to get my work trousers on and get out here. I've been dodging the rain showers since I got back from Northumberland. I've been trying to keep up on the harvesting, and I've just taken these last new potatoes out of the bag. I just was keeping them dry and decided they need to come in the house. But that's a really good harvest from that bag, and they are Casablanca. It's not one I've grown before. I planted them the 22nd of April, which was when I was first starting to go up here, and so I really enjoy trying them out. Also trying to keep up with the cucumbers and the tomatoes, and I've started to thin things out in here because I've never actually grown things over a winter before, because I only ever had my greenhouse and there wasn't really room for growing big things. But I realised that I now need a bit of space. So the leaves have been coming off the bottoms of the tomatoes to encourage the ripening. There's plenty on there still coming. I don't know whether you can hear the rain, but it's been so sunny this morning. But I'm in the tunnel because it's absolutely pouring down. So at least the garden will be getting watered, but I was expecting to get on with some pruning. It'll have to wait. You can hear it. There's still cucumber for me to get. More cucumber jam. Look at them. I think next time I'll know not to plant 2 cucumber plants. One has been more than sufficient. I'll definitely grow this one again though. It's called Pissandra. It's been great. I'll try not to sit on it all. One thing I don't think I'll do next year is have these hanging ones on the edge of my beds, because it's just been in the way. And maybe it would have been better if it had hung up from the top of the metal. But I think now, because there's so many hidden underneath, I think I'm just going to pull it up and harvest what I can, and then have the room. And next year I'll know not to put it on the edge of my bed, because it really has been in the way. and they're just sort of falling up onto the ground. Maybe my beds are just, they're not deep enough to have them hanging over. I'm just going to get as many as I can into my bowl. And I'm happy to take green ones too, because I've got a great recipe for green tomato ketchup, which when I harvest my green tomatoes, I'll let you in on that recipe, because it's a brilliant one. And in the meantime, I'm just going to get as much of this as I can, because there's tons on it, look, absolutely tons. I just haven't been able to see them because they've been hidden underneath, so I'm pleased I'm getting them now, and it helps me clear up for the autumn. More tomato recipes, that's what I need. Well, all of them have come off that one little plant. Be assured not one of them is going to go to waste, not even the green ones. I have recipes for green tomatoes. The sweet peas are going over now, so I think I'll just get the last ones off. But meanwhile, I keep forgetting that I'm growing runner beans here. I think I'll have to do a big harvest. This tiny little space has been very productive. Even the tree spinach is doing well there at the bottom end. Although I haven't eaten as much of that as I thought I would have. It's very pretty though. The amount of rain we've had has really filled the pond up nicely, and all the plants are thriving. I've even got kingcups out, and they should be flowering in the spring instead of now. And up here in the vegetable part of the garden, I've had some wins and some fails. Well, I won't say fails, things I need to learn and go forward into the next year doing things a bit differently. Firstly, I actually stopped using the nets on my cabbages because the butterflies are in there. I just couldn't keep it clear, and with the nets on, when they did hatch, they were trapped inside. So in the end I gave up on the nets, and I'll know for next year that I have to just put them on earlier or do without entirely, because since I've taken them off, it's let the birds get access to everything, and although there is damage, it doesn't seem to be quite as bad. So I have no intention of putting them back on at this late stage. In fact, my tree cabbage looks 100% better than it did when the nets were on. I did cut every single leaf off back down to its stalk. They've grown up lovely and clean, so that'll be something I might have some over this weekend. I'll definitely know to grow an outside courgette away from the edge of the pond. I've kept having to trim the leaves off all the time, otherwise it was forcing me nearly in the pond to get past it. So that'll have to go to a different area next year. This bed has been harvesting so much lettuce and radishes. I've actually stopped eating the radishes now. I'm leaving them to come to seed heads, which this one doesn't look like it's far off from. And meanwhile, I've got high hopes for the parsnips. I thought I'd put them in too late, and I did buy the seedlings, and to get them straight I washed them off and dibbled a hole, so I'm just keeping my fingers crossed. They look healthy enough. I've saved the best till last though, because would you just look at these. I absolutely cannot believe it. I think I might actually get sweet corn. Look at that, they're actually growing. I sowed these so late. I thought that if they got a flower on I'd be lucky. Now I have tentative hopes of actually getting sweet corn. I mean, look at it, it's so lovely. These silks, every single one of those goes down to a sweet corn kernel. So the windy weather's quite good as the male flowers release their pollen, which they're doing now. They should be able to fertilise each female silk and make my sweet corn swell. I mean, look at it. It's lovely. They might be tiny, Or maybe, just maybe, if we get a bit of hot weather in the next 4 weeks or so, I've got my tentative hopes up. Look at those bonny male flowers, all getting ready to fertilise me some lovely sweet corn. I haven't really started anything on the borders yet because I'm just marking time and need things to be a bit further over before I can start pulling them out, digging up and pruning back. I'm just waiting. When I do start the big prune, which I did start a bit on the honeysuckle but then didn't get it all done, it is just going to look so different. But it has to be done. The poor garden can't move forward while it's still overgrown. So I'm really looking forward to it. But at the minute, I just seem to be playing catch up on getting everything done. It's just one of those times of years that seems that everything is in a big rush, garden included. Anyway, polytunnel next. It's been amazing. Well, I've just come in to give you an update on the tunnel to find one of my tomatoes has collapsed since I was here this morning. So I need to sort that out. Well, this big branch has totally snapped off. And I'm definitely not going to waste those green tomatoes. So I think I'm going up for a bowl to harvest these all first and then try and get things stood back up again. What I'll do is I'll keep the green ones separately, and then if they do ripen in the house, so good, and if they don't, I'll just make a green tomato ketchup recipe, which is absolutely superb. And last year was the first time in nearly all my married life that I hadn't made it, and that's because I didn't grow the tomatoes last year for the first time because I just couldn't come out and look after them. I planted them and then never watered them from that day onwards, and they only got cleared up this April when I sort of got re-engaged with the garden. So I really look forward to making some this year. So I'm going to carry on doing this and then I'll give you an update on the tunnel. I think that's quite a lot of green tomatoes, and I've managed to get everything stood up again. I think it's just another learning thing that I'm having to learn about with having a tunnel rather than just a little greenhouse. My tomatoes I've never grown tomatoes as big as these have been, because I've always, not nearly always, I've always grown my tomatoes in big pots and then put those pots in buckets of water. So I've sort of done like a ring culture, but in pots. And although I always had lovely tomatoes, I have never had plants that grew as big as this, or even had the tomatoes as big as this. Some of these tomatoes I've grown this year on plants I know the variety of are just twice the size than I've had before. And the other reason why it's all come down as well is there were huge suckers that I'd missed, and that was all contributing to the weight on the plants. Normally I would have just had them on big tall canes and tied them in, but this year I've got them on garden string, and so that's taught me the lesson that garden string just isn't good enough. I need to either have proper thick string, or like I've put them back up now, I've put them up with wires, with garden wire around the aluminium poles, and so I'll know that for next year. This is all going to go in the compost actually. But the polytunnel has been an absolute joy. I've harvested so many things from here. As well as the tomatoes and the endless cucumbers, the basil has been absolutely amazing. This blue one is really lovely, African blue basil, as well as the ordinary stuff. That one was just bought from the supermarket and split, and it's done very well. And I'm actually preserving the basil in two methods. I'm either drying it in the oven if the oven's been on for something else, and then crumbling it up into a jar to use dried, or I'm freezing it in poly bags, just dressed with a little bit of oil. Put a couple of tablespoons of olive oil on them, get it all covered, and then straight into a poly bag, air out and in the freezer, and it works very well. And so I'll have a whole year's supply in my freezer. It'll definitely take me right through till next year when I'm growing it again. So I'll be maybe getting another couple of harvests off these basils before I pull them out. As for cucumbers, I have never ever had as many as I've had this year. They really have been never ending, and I have made so much more of that cucumber jam because as soon as I make it, it gets eaten because it's so lovely. But I've also made two other things to use the cucumbers up, both of which have been very successful. The first one is a bit normal, it's cucumber soup, but not a chilled soup. All I've been doing is chopping the cucumbers roughly, putting them in a pan to saute with a red onion and with an onion. I've been using red onions and a few potatoes for thickness, and then I just cook them in vegetable stock. It doesn't take very long to cook everything. As soon as the potatoes are cooked, then everything's cooked, and I whiz it up with my in-pot, what they call it, I've forgotten what they call those things, like a processor, but you held it in your hand and you whiz your soup up. And that has been absolutely amazing. In fact, Luke was asking me this morning if I'd make it again for tonight's tea. We've been eating that with crusty bread and it is superb. I use salt and pepper and really not much else. It's a very simple soup that just tastes delicious, and I'm serving it with a swirl of yoghurt. You could use cream and a sprinkling of chili flakes if you fancy the heat, and that's about it really. The other thing I've been making with cucumbers, it's going to sound a bit bizarre, but it's truly delicious. I had the idea just before I went away to freeze the cucumbers in some way, and I thought I'd try liquidizing it up first and thinking what would I do with it. And once I'd liquidized them up, I thought, oh, why don't I try and make sorbet, because you get sorbet out of all sorts of things. And so straight away I just added some sugar and some lemon juice to my food processor and kept whizzing it up. Put it in an empty ice cream tub and put it in the freezer, and off I went for my few days away in Northumberland. When I came back, I thought I'd have a try of it. It was really hard, but as I scraped it, it was coming up like snow, which is about what the consistency sorbet should be. And it is truly delicious. It is the most refreshing and delicious sorbet I've ever had, and I could see that being served at the beginning of a dinner. I could see it getting served alongside or after you've had a curry or something really hot, because it would be cooling for your palate. It is truly delicious, and the only reason I'm not making more is because I'm running out of freezer space in my little freezer, because I've got so much tomato pasta sauce in there now, because I'm just cooking the tomatoes down with some courgette, onion, garlic, sometimes an aubergine. I half liquidize it and half keep it chunky, and then once it's cold I'm freezing them flat into packs where we can take it out over the winter and use that for plain as it is, or as the base for a lasagna or a bolognese or something like that. So all in all, this polytunnel is just being amazing, and I'm looking forward to seeing just what I grow over the winter, because that will totally be new to the way I have been growing in the past. I've also used the polytunnel to soak this willow, but I need to take it out today, so I'm going to try and put the water on the beds if I can. so I'm not wasting anything. Well, I've managed to get the end on there. Let's hope it doesn't all burst out as I lift the other end up. Oh, come on. Oh, there it goes. Water the tomatoes while I'm on. I'm off to read the instructions of how to make a willow handbag. Now that this is bendy. As for the rest of the garden, it is just waiting for the weather to just change enough, waiting for things to just go over that little bit more. All the plants in the holding area have been doing well. These little Louisia have flowered all summer, and so's the little rose. It's been beautiful, and things that have been in pots are still managing to flower. Being outside in the garden again has even made a difference to my indoor plants, because I've been watering them all the time now with the rainwater from the water butt on the shed, and they have really responded and they are looking super lovely. And I've always grown houseplants, but I have to say they're looking better than ever. So with that, I'm just going to take myself off with my basil to freeze, the cucumbers to make some soup, and the tomatoes to do something with that I haven't decided yet. And I'll see you next week, and I hope you'll drop in again and see what else I'm up to. With any luck, I'll be actually doing some gardening again, and just more clearing up, marking time till I can do those borders. Happy gardening everyone, and thanks for visiting.